The Sleepers, Chapter 44, Deja Vu. With Jane and Ray happily in love, we moved to the next and final lucid dream, Cumulus, from inception to deployment. Fancy dinners ended. Couch time ended. Deck sunsets ended. With just 1 hour or less together a day, we spent most of our time meeting in the bed. Our agenda was repetitive and simple. Jane would find me finishing Ray's rest, kiss me awake, and we'd catch up on the day. Then I'd sleep a bit more just for Jane, swap the unit for her download, she'd take her turn, we'd debrief on the latest dream, and then I'd send her off for a late-night date with Ray. Hoping to buy another hour with Jane, I'd skipped work early today to get her sleep out of the way. When I finished Ray's next, I found her again at my side, ready to treasure our few minutes together. Her fancy clothes said Ray was taking her somewhere nice. I tried to smile. Thankfully, she avoided the subject for me. "How many times do you plan on transmitting your drug message?" asked Jane, head tucked in my arm. "It seems like he'll recognize the repetition and be slightly suspicious. You cannot keep sending lucid dreams and expect no consequence. He may dream of a woman repeatedly, but no one naturally dreams of a chemical compound 3 times. I rolled over to look into her eyes. "Was he suspicious of you, the progeny of his dreams?" "No, but who could resist my charm?" laughed Jane. "Fair enough," I conceded. "But Ray would have. I know it. He was done with life, and especially women. And you were not his type. Sorry," I shrugged. "Such is the power of the dream." I was confident it had been the sleep manipulation, not Jane's beauty, which pulled Ray from the love wreckage for another go, a final skip. "Besides," I added, "I have a new approach for this dream. If we get it right, we only need 1 sleep." Intrigued, she questioned further. "Are you going to make your dream richer, more lucid? Won't that risk his doubt? Transferring my image over and over could be a trick of his mind. But seeing a clear formula may be too much to believe." "There is a plan. Just wait until you see the dream." "Nice," she smirked. I had developed a new technique to disguise lucidity and promote recall. Jane was my willing test subject. "I've uploaded a new rest for you, which should be enough to remove any concerns." Even horizontal, Jane could cock her head and throw me a tantalizing glance. "You left work early today, didn't you?" "Sometimes I need more Jane time." "All right then, let's get my transfer over." Repeated lucid dreaming had perhaps increased my pride and cockiness, but Jane was going to be impressed tonight. It took more time to attach the apparatus to Jane than for her to live my latest creation. Multiple submersions to lucidity had desensitized her to the shock. Where she had once awoken with anger, grabbing for the visor or the tube, she now revived in happy bewilderment. "You have done something magical. I'm not quite sure, but I feel I must have dreamed the dream over and over through the night, or always had the dream in my mind. I saw the formula. I knew the formula. I predicted the formula. It was a part of me. Have you dreamed that dream before and I missed it?" she inquired, eager to understand. "No," I answered. I loved her attention too much to spill the answers immediately. She sat up interested. "How many REM cycles was I out then? Surely more than 1, she hypothesized. "Just 1. "You must have repeated it over and over to be so clear to me, with this feeling of repetition." I responded pithily still, teasing her to keep asking. "No, you only dreamed it once." Surrendering to her ignorance, she at last asked, "Then how did you trick me, John? I feel like... Like deja vu?" "Yes!" exclaimed Jane. "That's exactly what it felt like. How did you do it?" Her desperation earned the answer. Imagine you are a contestant in a game show, and you stand before 3 mysterious doors. The grand prize lies randomly behind 1 door. In the land of the living, fate and luck determine if you pick the winning door. But in your dreams, your mind has the power to divine the correct door. It's your dream. so you can know the outcome. If you apply logic while in the subconscious, you may say in your dream, I must have been here before. That is why I know the right door. When you wake up, you think, I have dreamed this dream before, and that's how I picked the right door. Neither postulate is true. Your mind has simply decided the outcome and clairvoyantly revealed it to your subconscious flow. Thus, a first dream may feel like it has come many times prior. Jane appeared enthralled and confused, shaking her head with furrowed brow. John, I'm not sure I'm following. I continued my lesson. Most people have experienced this trick of the mind and believed it was simple repetition. For non-sleeper sleep, true sleep, the mind creates the dream. The same mind knows the beginning and the end. In moments of false déjà vu, the person's mind reveals or hints at the dream's ending prior to manifestation, thus deceiving the dreamer into believing they have already experienced the dream. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to know the ending. Few people contemplate this psychic circle. With borrowed lucid sleep, I forced you to experience dream déjà vu by pondering the conclusion first. You knew the compound the moment you started the dream. Logic tells you that such mental deception is not possible. Therefore, with only my one dream, you feel you have dreamed the same vision once before, if not more. But I never saw the formula, countered Jane. I thought you only transmitted visual content from your brain, not thoughts. Jane, visual content is thought. The process is the same. It is why in our very first lucid transfer, you not only saw yourself as the winner of the race, but felt an attraction, a pull. I planted such a thought. Relenting, she nodded in accordance with a smile. I get it. So I knew the formula before even thinking about the formula, making me believe I'd already had this thought, and making the formula all the clearer in my mind. That's hard to wrap your head around, but it's brilliant. Thanks, I replied, neither prideful nor humble. I reached for Jane, but her contemplative eyes showed the thought process persisted. Shyly now, cautious of my ego, she asked, But won't Ray feel he's had the same lucid dream repeatedly and be very suspicious of you? No, I replied with confidence. Ask yourself how you felt about the déjà vu. Are the memories rich? What is the lasting effect, even after our discussion? Jane pondered my question for several drawn seconds before responding. I don't remember the previous dreams, which now I know is because they don't exist. I only feel a sense of familiarity. I can remember the formula even now, after our discussion, with great clarity, because it's part of me. That ethereal familiarity will convince Ray that this is a natural dream. He will know the formula, but also feel it is a part of him, not part of me. He will forget the source and recall the effect. I'm taking a risk, but I'm convinced this dream approach, coupled with his self-esteem, will protect me. He will happily take credit because the dream feels so much an integral part of him. Jane now removed the sleep connections, no longer distracted with the new dream sensation. She opened her arms to me, silently applauding the dream revelation. Encased in glass, I sometimes felt Ray's intrusions in my office were an open display to the team. Sometimes I didn't need or want everyone watching us or pretending not to watch us, but still hearing us. I'd crank up the noise cancellation, but that only made them more curious. Ray asked if we could walk through the courtyard today rather than debrief in the glass cube. Out in public, we looked like two folks headed to lunch, not deep in thought, and the wind provided about the right noise disruption. Once outdoors and past the security post, his questions began. So, what'd you think, John? What do you think of the plan? Did I get through to the group? Ray begged like a puppy, desperate to hear, Good boy. He was my boss, as both client and scientist, and he would someday lead the company. And his literary lust had made him a man of rhetoric. But I could never feel particularly inspired by Ray's speeches. Except this speech. Today he announced his vision, which was really my dream, for side effect mitigation. With the department meeting over, he begged for positive reinforcement, reassurance of his excellent leadership. I was not a person to bequeath either compliment or assurance, but my silence satisfied this puppy. I said nothing. Compliment would come soon. I feel certain the key lies in the dream magnifier, continued Ray, knowing his impatience had no time for a thoughtful answer. We strolled past the bronze statues lining the entry to Sleep Towers. I'm sure my grandfather had picked a few of these monstrosities just to laugh at us years after retirement. The idea to focus on this puzzle piece has been percolating in my subconscious for some time. If this one compound enhances our dream signal, it seems it may be the residual culprit wearing out Jane's kids. Ever since we started talking about the drowsiness dilemma, my mind keeps coming to this drug. Perhaps it's Jane's influence. He shrugged and added, Have you been dreaming of changing this component? Ray must have wondered at some level how many of his thoughts were really his own. After all, he did pay me to think about sleep science, or whatever else the Matson family required. I answered quickly, not wanting to let doubt fester. I think this one's all you. Then to distract further with praise, I embellished. It's a good starting point. I think you chose the best place for our focus. The group needs a direction. I admit I was pretty jealous of all the work you did in frontier science. We lacked that clarity over here. Besides, it's been too long as a company since we really challenged the drug cocktail. We can't become complacent in our greatness and our skills. Time for us to utilize our chemistry. Here I spoke the truth. I had no need to lie. I wholeheartedly agreed with Ray's vision. He had chosen the best starting place because I had dreamed it so. But it was not the deja vu dream I planned. It was Jane's plotting. Impressed by the first deja vu transfer, Jane and I conspired over the perfect time to strike and dream. We practiced, polished, and waited. We compared notes on Ray to ensure optimal transmission time. One last dream, and the Cumulus drug would be born. With transmittal day imminent, I mused on the domino chain to revolution. He would see his undoing, the drug, and make his proposal. We would test it, finding marked results in alertness post-sleep. Marketing would hear whispers of our modifications and take control. Politicians would fast-track deployment, taking credit for driving our research via the SSC. The newest drug cocktail would sweep the market, knocking out the knockoff competitors. Lucid dreaming would then start to spring forth, and then we would see the real spring, dominoes collapsing until the world changed. It was then that Jane hijacked the plan. I don't think you should dream the solution for Ray, announced Jane after waking in my bed from another transfer. In the last month I had inundated her with versions of the evolving dream. The masterpiece was now ready for unveiling, and Ray was ready to receive. And she wanted to stop the machine? She had the audacity to change plans now? The dominoes were ready. Her boldness surprised me. What? When did you start managing this operation? I asked, taken back in confused annoyance. We had generally avoided arguments in our relationship due to our lack of time, our dispositions being rich in maturity and sarcasm, and her innate ability to exact what she wanted from me through feminine wiles. Argument was unnecessary. But dating two people was wearing us thin. I've had that dream 10 times, she retorted, and I don't think it's right. The feeling is right, but it's too direct. He needs to be spoon-fed. She treaded cautiously over my feelings, slowly selecting words she already clearly had memorized. But her words provoked me still. And how do you know all this? I've been working for Ray my whole life. No one knows him better. And I've been dating him for 3 months straight. I see him every day, and I don't just nod agreement while silently mocking and eating more Chinese food. I actually listen. I've seen the way you get lost in Chinese food, even with me. Irritated, I mimicked back under my breath, actually. I abhorred that word. Every self-important scientist used that word too liberally. I don't want to know about your time together. Yeah, I've noticed that. In 3 months, you have never asked what we do, what he's like, what I think,
what his parents are like, or anything. You only focus on this damn job.
I know what he's like, and I get enough of your relationship from Ray, I answered sharply.
No, really. Why do you never ask?
Jane forcefully nodded with each word to emphasize her own frustration. My emotion poured forth truth uncontrollably as I yelled back, Because this time I care. I sighed hard and lowered the tone. He and I shared a lover once before, and it was a lie. I don't want to share this time. I don't like sharing you, and I don't want to know how deep your relationship goes. Her head cocked. Here we go.
Don't you wonder what my time with him is like? You ask about his emotional state and his commitment to sleep free. You question his dream intellect and his aspirations, but you never ask about us. I don't know how you can see me every day, before or after him, like you're an entree or dessert, and not wonder.
I wonder every minute, Jane, but I don't want to know. I don't want to know that I was a mediocre appetizer or a meager dessert compared to him. I don't want to know that his dates are unforgettable. I don't want to know that he writes you sappy poetry and worships the ground on which you stand. I don't want to know how he kisses you, or worse. I have given everything to that man. Am I jealous? Yes. Of my own free choice, I gave him my girl. In fact, I forced it so. I went to great lengths to make sure he would like you and steal you away. So no, I don't want to know about your time together. When it comes to you two together, I block my ears and lock away the bitter reality, which is that I have been spending less and less time with you each night because of him and this quest. And when we are together for our precious few moments, little of this time is for us. Our time together centers around perfecting Cumulus delivery for Ray. I couldn't compete with him in school or anything else, and I will not be able to as long as sleep holds me in shackles. I could certainly never compete with him in dating, and cannot bear to know what it must be like for you. I get enough of the details from Ray over lunch, which is why I refuse to listen to him, choosing instead to bury my head in loud chewing and daydreams. So again, no, I don't want to know about your time with Ray. I let out a final huff, totally worn out. She settled to a posture of calmness, fully relaxed again on the bed, and reached for me, flattered by my outburst of humanity.
Oh, John, you really do like me. You're even blushing.
Her charm had completely returned, and the embroilment fizzled. I don't blush.
Right,
she half nodded in teasing gesture. The argument over, she changed subjects and continued matter-of-factly.
He wants me to meet you. He wants me to meet his famous sleeper.
I know. Ray had begged me multiple times to attend a third-wheel lunch so I could approve of his latest love. I had politely dodged and conveniently forgot to tell Jane of these requests.
He's tried arranging something for the three of us, explained Jane.
I won't come. Maybe in the past I would have played that game, but watching you two together would be too much torment. I thought of Sam and how fun it was to see them together and then meet up at night. Things were different with Jane.
Then why don't you just propose the drug yourself and I can stop dating him? Asked Jane poignantly. That is your job, Mr. Sleep Scientist. Why does it have to be Ray? In fact, why any of this charade?
She had inadvertently stumbled into the question of real truth, the question I thought so obvious it was impervious to discovery. I had hoped I would never have to answer this question, but once spoken, I had to respond. I proceeded slowly. It was so easy to talk to Jane in her yellow pajamas, with her lying in my bed and me sitting at her side. Nothing was more natural. When the day comes to scrap this idea, my drug, or seal it forever, they will see his name, and it will last. My name means little. His is eternal. If it is his creation, it will be our permanent solution, his crowning scientific achievement preceding his corporate coronation. I may play a part, but the ultimate creator must be Ray. She softly returned to her original plea.
Okay, I guess I understand. Then take it slow. If you wish this creation to come from Ray, do not alarm him with deja vu. Drop the right hints, let me work my magic, and spoon-feed the solution. It'll work. He will discover Cumulus and never blame you for the undoing. You were lucky when you dreamed of me in the race. He was vulnerable, wallowing in his historic failure with women. As a client, the small fragments of dreams he would naturally experience would focus on his replayed misery. The race meshed flawlessly with his soul and psyche. But don't push your luck again. Give him what he needs to make the discovery, no more, and he will do it.
I did not respond to Jane, and she would not require me to do so. Silence conceded my openness and humility. I snuggled up next to her to enjoy our few minutes left together. When our night ended, I pondered on this new path. I had been ready to give the formula and relax to the vision of victory. I think in my mind I had already knocked over those dominoes. But Jane was right. I needed to take my time. My whole life hung on this one drug. I could manage a few more months. I could leave Ray just enough breadcrumbs, dancing on the line between lucid discovery and failed translation. It only took one simple dream. I buried the subtle snare within the noise of typical sleep. To the subconscious receptors, the ideal would sparkle like a diamond in a swirl of chaos. To the conscious, awakened mind reflecting on rest, it would be a mere fragment standing out among an otherwise dull, borrowed sleep, an unrealized anomaly of assimilation. It would be neither spectacular nor forgettable. It would be like the faint taste of herbs baked into a poor man's bread loaf, enough to flavor the flavorless. I followed Jane's counsel. Instead of transmitting the Deja Vu solution, perfectly revealing the formula, I took it slow. Jane and I put Ray on the same path I had taken to discovery, beginning with the right drug within the cocktail on which to focus. And Ray fulfilled his part perfectly. Step 1 complete. He deciphered the dream and determined his destiny. Within my new, simple dream was a thought to start with the dream magnifier and ignore the rest of the cocktail. Ray latched on to the subconscious seed and set his research team to work, beginning with a lively rally that, for once, even I could bear. "Between your daydreams and our brains, we'll find the solution," boasted Ray as we finished the walk in the courtyard. He smiled proudly after my words of assurance. I nodded in affirmation. Yes, I think we can do this. We could, and we would find the solution. So time for step 2.